Welcome to the Boxing Bookie. It is good to be back. What a heavyweight fight. I enjoyed that. I think more than Wilder Fury 3, definitely more than Wilder Fury 1. I really enjoyed that fight. The judges gave every close round to Fury, but at the end of the day, they got the winner right. I thought the scores were way too close. One judge actually had it for Fury, which is straight out travesty. I want to know which rounds. I guess the 12th. I had it. Well, we'll get into how I had it, but I just thought that was entirely too close. But I don't want to talk about bad scorecards when ultimately they got the correct verdict. Usyk won the fight, and the judges awarded the fight to Oleksandr Usyk. So, at the end of the day, I want to talk about Oleksandr Usyk because the day is his. A couple of questions that we want to get into about Usyk, and I'll wait for everyone to come on in. What up, Connor? My favorite Jets fan and Nets fan. Connor is a 12-year-old phenom who has a Jets channel, New York Fight Jets Talk. If there's any Jet fans out there, come join us. Come join Connor. He's 12 and he breaks down the Jets like he's 42. So come join Connor. He's the brightest, sharpest Jets fan in the world. I really like him. Losing my brain here. Yeah. I thought the right guy won the fight. I thought Usyk clearly won. I had him 117, 110. I posted my scorecard on Twitter or X or whatever we were calling it this week. The only rounds I gave to Usyk, and there are other rounds you could have given him. The third, but the only rounds I gave him were 4, 5, and 6. After that, I thought you could have gave him the third and you could have gave him the 12th. So the closest I could see this thing was 115, 112. Was the closest with the 2-point knockdown. Appreciate you, Connor. The closest I could have seen this was 115, 112 for Usyk. The widest I could see it was 117, 110. Everyone I was talking to had it wide like that. 117, 110, 116, 111. The judges gave every close round to Fury. I'm not shocked. And this didn't happen in a bubble. The judges, Nick Bavina, great fight. I had a little closer, but the right man won. I want to hear everyone's scorecard because everyone's telling me my scorecard was wide, and maybe it was. Maybe I was being biased in my take. How did you have it, Nick? I had it 117, 110. The only rounds I gave Sophia was, like I said, 4, 5, and 6. I posted my scorecard on Twitter. I thought Usyk won. Rocket, I'll answer your question, but tell me how you had this fight scored. I want to know how everyone had it. Champ, who's winning? Last 2 fights, Navarrete and Santillan. Navarrete and Santillan. I don't think these fights are particularly close. The Santillan fight is fun. It's a fun fight. But guys, I know there's mostly probably hardcores in here. If you guys get a chance, hop on over. After this, go to ESPN, check out the Top Rank card. It's a good little card. Navarrete and Dennis Branchek is the main event. Giovanni Santillan's in the card against Brian Norman Jr. Again, not the name value that we had in this fight, not the undisputed heavyweight crown on the line, but a really good card on ESPN. And you don't have to pay $70. What was this? This was $64.99. What did I pay for this? $64.99. This is every single week now. Matthew D'Souza says, I remember you years ago saying Usyk would reign supreme. People laughed, including myself. I remember Matt scoffing, but you were right. Thank you. I got Matthew D'Souza. Thank you. I said years ago, when Usyk was a cruiserweight, that he was going to run the heavyweight division. I don't think it, and I'm not trying to pat myself on the back now, but I'm going to pat myself on the back. I've always said this. Usyk is 6'2", 220. It's small for a heavyweight, but it's not too small. For 50 years, your heavyweights were 6'2", 220. Now they're huge, they're massive, I understand. But 6'2", 220 is not too small. Fury, Wilder, AJ are good heavyweight boxers. They're very good heavyweights. Usyk is a great fighter who happens to fight at heavyweight. Meaning, if you made Usyk, if Usyk was smaller, if Usyk was 160, if Usyk was 140, if Usyk was 108, he'd be a great fighter. If you just shrunk him down, he's still great. These other guys really only survive as heavyweights. Like if you made Anthony Joshua, if you shrunk him down to a welterweight, he's not good anymore. He's only a good heavyweight. I'm not trying to disparage these guys. They're good heavyweights. But Usyk is a great fighter who happens to fight in the heavyweight division. And that's really what I thought separated him. Yeah, Emiliano Vargas. Good-looking prospect. I want to see him take those steps up because he looks sensational. He's got a lot of upside. I think they're babying him a little bit. I don't want him to. I don't think he needs to be babied. I want to see him take the appropriate steps up. Yeah, I know, man. Tough loss today. Muscles Brown. Talking about Joe Cordina. Oh, God. That was the easiest one, I thought. Joe Cordina and Anthony Cachachi. Who saw that coming? I was like, I don't even know what to make of that fight. We'll get him back, though. I mean, we hit the lock every week. That was a tough one. Gator Sports, what a fight. Fury had a chance and blew it. Was the right decision. Bring on the rematch. Absolutely. Look, I think Usyk will give him the rematch. But I'm going to say the same thing about Usyk that I said about Juan Manuel Marquez when Marquez killed Pacquiao dead. Why? We're done. Everyone knows Usyk won. Usyk's 36. The only thing he can do now is damage his legacy. Right? Just like Marquez showed. He proved he was greater than Pacquiao. He proved it. We don't need to do it. We've done it 4 times. Right? We don't need to do it again. Usyk waited for 2 years to fight Fury. Fury finally got in the ring and Usyk beat him. Beat him clearly. So, as much as I do love the rematch, and I do think Usyk will give him the rematch because he's going to make $100 million. So, I get it. If I'm Usyk, guys, think about Usyk's legacy. The greatest cruiserweight of all time, Oleksandr Usyk, and the best heavyweight of his era. Those are 2 things that you can't take from him. The only thing he can do is hang around too long and damage his legacy. So if I'm Oleksandr Usyk, I'm his conscience. This is what I'm telling him. You're done. You don't need to fight anymore. You made enough money. You have your brain intact. Just leave the sport. You're the greatest cruiserweight champion ever and the best heavyweight of your era. There's nowhere you can't improve your legacy anymore. Where people are going to rank you is where they're going to rank you. Where does he rank amongst the greatest fighters ever? He's on that list, guys. He's on top 20, top 10. He's higher than Holyfield. Holyfield was not the greatest cruiserweight of all time. That's Usyk. And Holyfield was not the greatest heavyweight of his era. That's Lennox Lewis. So Usyk legacy is really, really high. Like he's a top 20 fighter. We'd really have to go through the names. When we start talking about achievements, you start talking about accomplishments, there's not so many names that you can put ahead of Oleksandr Usyk. Best heavyweight of his era, greatest cruiserweight of all time. Where do you want to rank him? No rematch. Yeah, I agree. It's not needed. We know who won the fight. Now you're just asking, because the rematch, these guys only fight once a year. And I'm not degrading them for only fighting once a year, but they only fight once a year. So now we're talking about 37-year-old Usyk, whose entire game, like if Usyk was just a power hitter like George Foreman or Wilder, you might say, okay, he can extend his career a little bit due to his power. But his whole game is built on his athleticism, his speed, his dexterity, right? His whole game is built on that. So the only thing he can do is age and get worse, right? So I would say just be done with it. Just be done with the fight. But again, guys, there is $100 million to be made. So that's why he's going to take the fight. But how many yachts can you really jet ski behind, right? Like the line from Wall Street or whatever. I kind of like take your legacy, take your pride, take and just be done. Walk off. Andre Ward, Floyd Mayweather style. Just be done with it. Happy ending. Oleksandr Usyk, undisputed heavyweight champion, greatest cruiserweight of all time. And be happy with your legacy and go enjoy your family and the rest of your life. You're 36. You don't ever have to work again. Your kids don't ever have to work again. You'll never meet the people in your family who have to work again. So enjoy that. Take your victory lap and just walk off. But I do agree. I do think he's going to take the extra $100 million. I just hope he wins the rematch too. Because like I said, there's nothing he can do but tarnish his legacy from here. Not going to agree with cleanly. It was closer than that. Usyk was left off the hook. Tyson should have finished him early. Here's the thing. Like, okay, I get what you're saying. You're talking about in the 6th round, I'm guessing. Usyk was hurt, for sure. He was hurt. He wasn't in all that much trouble. His head was... Now, Usyk is not a great... I mean, Fury's not a great finisher, right? Like, he's not a guy who really puts his punches together and jumps on you like a dog on fear. He's not a great finisher. I know what you're talking about. And yes, Usyk was... He was hurt. He was noticeably hurt. I don't think he was in a world of trouble. Could have Fury pressed more? Yeah, he absolutely could have pressed more. Would he have gotten the finish? I don't think Usyk was that hurt. Like, I don't think he was in a world of trouble like Fury was in the 9th. But I understand what you're saying. I think round 11, Navarrete stops dude. Yeah, he's talking about Navarrete and Dennis Branchik, which is later tonight. I agree. Late stoppage, 9-12, the last third of the fight, somewhere in there, probably 10 or 11. Navarrete is just a load to deal with. I mean, he's so flawed. I remember scouting him when he was coming up in Mexico. I had 2 lists, right? Pros and cons. And both lists are like phone books. Like, he does so many things well and so many things awful. He was the most interesting guy I've ever had to scout, was Emmanuel Navarrete. And this is when he was when he's coming up in Mexico. There's so much good and so much bad with Navarrete. But I agree. Branchek is kind of limited. He's a good boxer. He doesn't have a lot of power. He's not going to win that fight. I can't see it. Like, Navarrete is more of an amateur style. I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, he's a clean boxer, but there's nothing he really does that super impresses me as a pro. Branchik was a gold medalist. He's good. He's just not going to beat Navarrete. And then Navarrete should go back down to 130. I had it 4-2 Fury going into the 7th. Chris Maddox on his own had it scored the same way. Yeah, it was the 3rd round. I gave the 3rd. So my scorecard was easy. I gave the first 3 to Fury, 4, 5, and 6. The first 3 to Usyk, 1, 2, and 3 to Usyk, 4, 5, and 6 to Fury. And then I gave the back half of the fight to Fury. I mean, let me try this again, guys. My brain. I gave 1, 2, and 3 to Usyk. I gave 4, 5, and 6 to Fury. Then I gave 7 to 12 to Usyk. And then obviously the 9th was the 10-8 rounds. So I could see, I gave the close rounds to Usyk. I could see switching. 3 was very close. I still thought Usyk won 3. And then I could see switching 12. If you do that, you have 115, 112. I don't know what other rounds you're giving to Fury. Like, I didn't see any other rounds that were close. 1 and 2 he lost. 3 put a ring around it. 12 put a ring around it. 4, 5, and 6 Fury won. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I don't think you can argue Fury won any of those rounds. If you did, which round? 7 through 11. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. What round there did you give to Fury? It can't be the 9th or the 10th. It can't be the 8th. The 7th? I didn't see that. I mean, Fury had the round after Usyk was in trouble. I didn't see that as a Fury round. I thought Usyk won that round clearly. I thought he bounced back nice. 7, 8, 9. 8 and 9, he clearly won. 10, he clearly won. 11, I mean, 11 was close, and then he got nailed with the left hand at the end of the round that wobbled him. So I can see 115, 112. If you had 115, 112, we're all good. No issue with that scorecard at all. Anything closer than that, I don't see it. 7 and 8, you had Fury? 7 and 8? Okay. I didn't. 7, I guess was close. I'll go back and watch it. 8, I didn't see that at all. 8 you had? So you had him up big. Going into the knockdown, you gave 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You gave 5 rounds there to Fury. If you gave him those 5 rounds and the 12th, then you got 114, 113. Is that how you had it? Okay. The 7th, I guess. I mean, I thought Fury won the 8th. I don't see that at all. I don't see Fury winning the 8th at all. I thought that was a pretty clear round for Usyk. But I'll go back and watch it. I'm tweeting. I'm taking notes. So maybe I missed something. Maybe I need to go back and watch the eighth again. I definitely had that for Usyk. And then on the undercard, the co-main, I want to talk about Jai Apataya. I love Jai Apataya. But I'm going to tell you one thing. Guess who's not making that jump from cruiser to heavy? Jai Apataya. If we watch Jai Apataya, this was a guy, 114, 113. Ooh, okay. I read in my brain, I read this 114, 113 Furious. All right, like if you gave him the 8th, then yeah, 114. I just didn't see it that way. But I mean, it's possible. You could have it 114, 113 if you gave him the 8th. But now I need to go back and watch the 8th. I thought Usyk dominated the second half of the fight. After that 9th round, I said in a Discord, that's it. That's the end of the fight. It's over. Like, Fury's going to answer the bell for the 10th. But there's no legs left in him. He's done. He has no legs left. He's going to get knocked out. It's just a matter of when. Like, Usyk's going to stay patient, close the gap, and then he's going to stop him because Fury's legs are gone. So I was impressed with the way Fury rebounded after that because I thought the fight was over. I'm like, okay, yes, the fight's going to go on another round, but it's just a matter of when now. It's just a matter of Usyk staying patient, closing the gap, and once he hits him, Fury's going to buckle again because he's a fat slob who was on his last legs. But I was impressed. I really was impressed with the way that Fury bounced back after that. I don't think he won any rounds, but he fought well and he survived and he fought to. I want to say one thing: the advice, and it turned out. I want to see the scorecard. I don't know. Sugar Hill told Fury going into the 11th. Now my scorecard is cooked. Win the last 2 rounds, you win the fight. I don't know how the judges scored the last 2 rounds. I haven't seen the scorecards. That is horrible advice. Like, look. You're the bigger man. You're the natural heavyweight. He's a cruiserweight. You called them the little middleweight. That is horrible advice. I understand some people don't want to hear it. You have to talk to your fighter like a man. You got to sit him down, take his mouthpiece out, and say, listen to me, son. You're losing this fight. It's not over. We got 6 minutes left. You're the bigger hitter. You're bigger. You're stronger. You need to come forward. You need to let your hands go. You need to set it up behind the jab, and we need to land that right hand. You got to put the left hook behind it, but you got to throw. You're losing this fight, but it's not over, okay? If we win the last 2 rounds, we might have a chance. But you can't leave this to the judges. You need to take care of him. You need to finish this. That's the advice you should have given him, not win the last 2 rounds in a fight that I thought he was clearly losing and say, win the last 2 rounds and you win. That is not the mindset that you want. All right, it's just, in football, I'm all for going for it on 4th and 1. Just go. Just put them up there. My 11 versus your 11, I'm going to beat you. It's that same kind of mentality, right? Like, I'm the bigger guy. I'm going to press forward. I'm going to throw my hands. I'm going to get the stoppage here with the fight on the line. You saw Osaki Foster do it against Rocky Hernandez, remember? Back in Mexico? Stopped them at 30 seconds left. I'm better than you. I can hit harder than you. I'm going to come forward. My skills are better than yours. I'm going to beat you. That's the advice you should have given him. And Bobby Benton sat down with Osaki Foster after the 10th round and said, listen, son, they're going to rob you. You're going to lose. So you need to get a knockout. And Osaki doesn't want to hear this, but that's what he needed to hear because he could have just went in there, outboxed him, won the last 2 rounds, and lost the decision. And then said, I was robbed. Do you want to retain your title? They're going to rob you. This is what you have to do. You have to get a knockout. That's the advice that Sugar Hill. I did not like that advice. That is not what a cornerman has to give you the straight truth. Look, maybe he was right, but it seemed to everyone I talked to that he was losing that fight going into the last 2 rounds. So you got to slam on the gas. We're fighting for undisputed. Your life's work. You got 6 minutes. We're not dead. We're actually in pretty good shape. Here's what we're going to do. That's the advice I would have given him. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point, kid. Gator says Fury stopped throwing the uppercut and then uh, lost him, and that lost him the fight. Yeah, it didn't. It didn't help. It didn't help. So 115, 112. Yeah, that's a completely acceptable scorecard, Nick. 115, 112 Usyk. Again, like I said, if you have 115, 112 Usyk, that's fine. I'm not going to object to that at all because you gave him the eighth, and then you gave the other two close rounds that we talked about to Fury. That's fine. It's a good scorecard, Nick. Again, mine was probably going to be a little wide because I did give the close rounds to Usyk, so I was expecting the scorecards mine to be wider for Usyk than if you had given he flipped the other rounds the other way. But 115, 112, I got no problem with. And that's something that Teddy Atlas has to understand because Teddy Atlas loves to cry robbery. Just because someone has a different scorecard than you doesn't make it a robbery, right? Like Nick's scorecard was 2 rounds closer than me. So that's a fine scorecard. 115, 112 is a fine scorecard. I said 117 to 110, 115 to 112 is the realm of acceptable scorecards. That is true. None of them are. And neither are Usyk. And my point about Usyk, Gator says Fury fights are not easy to score. No, none of them are. I remember I had Fury winning the Wilder fight 10 rounds to 2, the first one, 10 rounds to 2. And I remember being on a podcast the next day, and they were asking me, you didn't give him any other rounds besides the 2 knockdown rounds to Wilder. No, I didn't. I didn't give him any rounds. Besides the 2 knockdown rounds, I gave every other round to Fury. And they were like, that's crazy. It's like, okay. And then one of the judges had given Wilder 7 rounds in that fight. So, yeah, there's a lot of subjectivity to it. What do you prefer? I get that. And Usyk is a guy that, for whatever reason, and we can go all the way back to the first Bradis fight, back in 2018, where these scorecards, to me, are just too close. Now, he's gotten a decision in all of them. But just off the top of my head, he was losing to Bellew at the time when he knocked Bellew out in the 8th. Bradis, he won the fight 115, 113 times 2, and then the third judge had it 6-6. I didn't see any of these fights that close. Then you had the Derek Chisora fight. 2 of the judges had it 115, 113. Really? And then the second Joshua fight, I thought Usyk dominated that fight. Split decision, 115, 113 each way, and then I thought a reasonable 116, 112. Something about Usyk's style that the judges don't love, because this, like I said, going all the way back to him as a cruiserweight. Bradis, I thought was way too close. Bellew, he was losing on the cards at the time of the stoppage. And yeah, he gave away some of the early rounds to Bellew, but I don't think he was losing the fight. Then I said Chisora, 115, 113 in that fight? Really? So there's something about him that the judges don't love as much as I do. Did Usyk breaks Fury's nose? Did that throw Fury off? I've had my nose broken a lot. It depends. It could. So if you've never had a broken nose before, which I find hard to believe for Fury, but I can't think of a time in watching his fights where he had a really broken nose, like bleeding profusely. So it's possible. It's just hard to believe. Got that many fights, never had his nose broken, but I can't think of one off the top of my head. You can't blow your nose. It'll swell up your eyes, right? Seeing your blood drip through your nose can play on it could have, if he's never had it happen before. Once you have a badly broken nose, you kind of, moving forward, you know how to deal with it. And I would imagine that Fury did. I just can't think of a particular time. It's possible that it played on, because the first time you break your nose, you think, I can't breathe, and you can't blow your nose, and you like it does mess with your game plan a little bit, because now you're thinking about your nose. At the same time, the first time you break your hand. The first time you break your hand in the ring, just keep throwing it. Just keep throwing it, because you just throw it. I know it hurts. I understand. You're in a fight. Just throw it. You'll be okay. Like, you can't break it worse. It can't be more broken. So just keep throwing it. It'll hurt. Eventually, if you keep throwing it, it'll go numb and you won't feel shit anymore. So a broken nose and a broken hand can really affect your performance if it's the first time you've had it happen. C. Miller, my man, says, had a little bet on Usyk to win in rounds 10 to 12. Have a good weekend. Almost got the 10th round knockout. I thought he was going to stop him. I wanted to ask y'all this. Do you guys think the fight should have been stopped in the 9th round? It probably should have stopped it. But here's my thing. I thought Joe Cordina should have had the fight stopped early in the 3rd round, and they let it go. I think it was the 3rd round of the Cordina fight, where Cordina got dropped and badly beaten. I thought that probably should have been stopped, and they let that go. So if they were going to let that go, then I understand them letting this go. You have a long rope on this. I could have seen stopping both of them, but if you're going to let Cordina go on beyond the 3rd, then I completely understand letting Fury go on. You should have been stopped. The ref said it was approaching that, and it looked like Fury was so out of it. And Fury is, like I said, he's not a physical specimen. He's a fat slob. He doesn't take care of himself. I thought he was going to be done, and I was surprised and impressed with the way that he bounced back in those last 2 rounds. So the way so stop with less than 20 seconds left in the round. No, more than 20 seconds. Yes. Look. The ref is not the timekeeper. The ref is just making a decision and deciding, has he taken too much? Is he not fighting back? I'm not looking at the clock. I know the ref has to look at the clock so that he knows when to jump in to stop the round. But one punch can change your life, okay? One punch too many can send you in a hospital and end your life. I don't care how much time is left. If the fight needs to be stopped, it needs to be stopped. One extra punch can change your life forever. So I understand the point. Like, okay, he's almost made it through the round. Let him finish the round. I disagree with that. I'm more for an early stoppage than some people. Again, Oleksandr Usyk is teeing off on you. People have died in the ring. I'm not going to let this go on too long. This is a sport. I understand you're in a fight, but this is still a sport at the end of the day. I'd rather stop it too soon than say, well, he ate a couple extra shots, but the round was almost over. You know what I'm saying, Gator? He wasn't throwing any punches. And for me, that's why I would have stopped the fight on Cordina. When you're not throwing any punches, you're no longer interested in winning the fight. If you're not interested in winning the fight, then I have to stop the fight. I have a moral responsibility to stop the fight. Look, if you're not fighting to win, fighting is immoral. You fight to win the fight. You fight to win the fight. If you're not fighting to win, then I'm going to stop the fight. And and that's why when you see guys strictly going into survival mode late in the fight, stop the fight. Because the only thing that's going to happen is you're going to get seriously hurt. So if you're not fighting to win the fight, me as a referee or as a cornerman, if my guy's not fighting to win, I don't care if he says, well, I get to say I went the distance. I'm not fighting not to win. Not fighting to win is a horrible decision. You fight to win. That would have stopped it for Usyk. Yeah, they would have stopped it for. Yeah, ask yourself this. If Usyk was in as much trouble in the 6th round, like let's say in the 6th round, Usyk was in as much trouble and was as unresponsive as Fury was in the 9th, you think they would have stopped it? Of course they would have stopped it. Excellent point, Rocket. Excellent point. Preach, Gary. That's something I'm passionate about. Gator. Too big at right to stop. Tyson had been down out before and came back. But I would have accepted a stop. I get it. And he's talking about the Wilder fight, the first one, where it looked like Wilder had killed him. And then, like, Fury sat up like the Undertaker and beat the count by a fraction of a second. And then came up and finished the round well, like won the last minute of the fight. Yeah, it's fair. If you know their histories, then yeah, Fury has a knack of like getting his second win and getting his legs back. Now that was 4 or 5 years ago, the first Wilder fight. He was a younger man. I think he was just 30. Now he's 30. But I understand what he's saying. I'm just a fan of not stopping it 1 second too soon than stopping it 1 second too late. That's all. The Cardina fight should have been stopped. I was thinking that while watching. It was painful to watch. It was. And I want to talk about that because Cardina obviously got hit late on the break. And it was an effective shot. How much of that? Because right after that, the fight changed. I thought Cardina won the first 2 rounds, clearly. Like, I thought he looked fine. And then in the third round, all hell broke loose. And Cardina never really, he did okay in the fourth, but he never really reestablished himself. He never got back in the game, and you could see his legs were never right after that. And he's lucky that Kachachi can't hit at all. Because if Kachachi could hit, oh man, now it would have been over quicker. And when he was getting, Cardina was just getting teed off on. Like, that fight needed to be stopped. I would have stopped that fight in the third round. But they were letting him go. So they let him go, and they let Usyk, they let Fury go. For the Wilder fight, that was the longest 10 seconds ever. Look, so the timekeeper starts the count, and the referee is going to instruct the standing opponent to go to his corner. Wilder was celebrating and had his arms up like he had won the fight, which we all thought he did. Then, now once I get him in the corner, now I'm going to pick up the count from the timekeeper. I don't think the timekeeper was counting. So I think they just said 3. So now the referee is going to pick up the count from 3 instead of 6 or whatever it should have been. And in that extra time, because like if you go back and you watch the Wilder Fury first fight, that knockdown in the 12th, the referee picks up the count at 3. It's like, well, I don't think the timekeeper was counting the knockdown. So then, again, I only saw it on TV. I wasn't there, so I can't say this definitively, but that's what it seems like. And then the referee picks up the count on the timekeeper. And what's going to argue? No, it's more than 3. You just pick up the count. And the rule of boxing, it's a 10 count. It's not 10 seconds. So I agree the count was obviously long. It was a long count. If you clock it, it was like 14 seconds or something like that. It was a very long count. But it wasn't anything that was tainted to me, right? Like, would have it mattered if they had a 10? Yeah, he didn't get up in 10 seconds. He got up on before the referee reached 10. I put this in my video. Kachachi's last stoppage was in 2016 against the guy who was 2-25. Did anyone put any money on Kachachi to win by stoppage? And what was that paying? Dudes on steroids. Test them. Who we talking about? Kachachi? Yeah, I'm going to be shocked if Kachachi's test on Monday or Tuesday, whenever they get the results, if that comes back clean, I'm going to be shocked. I'm going to be absolutely shocked. His last stoppage was 8 years ago against a guy who was 2-25. Now he fights by far the best opponent he's ever faced with an iron jaw. Stood up with Eddie Vasquez, stood up with Rakhimov, right? Stood up with those guys. And then this guy cleans his clock. I mean, it's possible, but my suspicion is aroused. With a huge title fight, you don't stop the fight unless absolutely necessary. I understand the line of thinking. I just disagree with it. I mean, like, Gaddy Ward won. Greatest fight I've ever seen. Greatest fight I've ever seen. And it was great because they didn't stop it. So I understand the point, right? Like, and the ref, and that was Frank Cappuccino. I remember Jim Lampley, stop at any time, Frank. Stop at any time. And Frank's like, I was not stopping that fight. He's like, I know what the hell I'm doing. If there's anything I know, it's what the hell I'm doing. So, yeah, he's going to let it go. He said if I would have stopped it, they would have killed me. Okay. I don't, having been in there, it's just a fight, guys. Like, we get him back. But again, Fury was fighting to win the whole time. Now, he was out on his feet and he got dropped and he was in a lot of trouble, but there was never a point in that fight that Fury wasn't fighting to win. He was never in there to survive. Yeah, shout out to Apataya on the win, but shout out to Bradis. Miller says was a bloody one. I was expecting Apataya to get the finish. You think Bradis is done fighting? So I want to address that in two ways. Do I think he's done fighting? Yes. Do I think he still has a lot of fight left in him? Also, yes. I think he's done. I think he closed that fight against a guy he can't beat as well as you can finish it. Right? Like, you can't finish that fight any better than Bradis did outside of getting a stoppage. So he goes out on the shield. He came up short, but he fought valiantly and he fought well and he gave it hell. So I think he's done. But if you put him back in the cruiserweight division, he may be able to beat everyone in that division outside of Apataya. So he can still beat guys. He's not a heavyweight, but he can still beat guys. So do I think he's going to retire? Yes. If he chose to fight, can he still beat top-notch welterweight, top-notch cruiserweights? All of them except for Apataya potentially. So I hope that answers your question. Was still wild though. Absolutely wild fight. Got Wilder and Zhang. I want to get your thoughts on that. Wilder and Zhang. Who do we like in that? Glendale says that used left hand Usyk landed. Anybody that isn't 6'9", 270 would have been obliterated on the spot. Yeah, it was crazy. No, it was crazy watching Fury go down. It was like Andre the Giant or someone like that being taken off their feet. It was like a bear being taken down by a cougar or something like that. Like, this is crazy. And it's like, but yeah, this is the 8th time that Fury's been down. 8. Like, for this great defensive fighter that Fury's supposed to be, he sure gets hit a lot. It was that was an amazing fight, though. I was hyped for the fight, and I can't wait to see the pay-per-view numbers. And I'm my guess is they're going to do it again. Although I would advise Usyk not to. I would advise Usyk just retire, be done with it. You know, Fury did everything in his power not to make this fight happen. And eventually, they just offered him so much money, and there's nothing else Fury could do. Right? So it wasn't like Fury was eager to make the first fight. So we're done. Like, we're done. If I'm Usyk, I'm done. Same way Marquez was done with Pacquiao. Like, we don't have to do it again. I don't feel we have to do it again. But, you know, there are some people like Gator who thinks it's a lot closer than I did. So, again, and I think he's going to do it because there's so much money in it. Yeah, they're going to give him $100 million for the rematch. Yeah, he's gonna do it. And I'm not going to ever tell anyone to not take the money. I would just explain to him there's nothing more. You've made enough money. There's nothing more that you can do for your legacy. Your legacy is cemented in stone at this point. You can only tarnish it from here on out. So, walk away. Maybe Fury. All right. We're going on for a while, guys. Anything else anything else on the card worth talking about? Anything else substantial that we need to discuss here, or can we wrap this up? Also, guys, join the Patreon. Link is in the description. I'm gonna also throw the Patreon up there, guys. Join the Patreon. Just $5 a month. Get you the lock of the week. It gets you a ton of other cool perks. So join the Patreon. It's just $5 a month. Do I think Fury would? Yeah, I thought Fury won against Francis. I did. I don't really like. I thought besides the knockdown, I thought Francis didn't really do much. Now, that was a difficult fight to score because neither guy really did much. But yeah, I thought Fury won that fight. I mean, I get why people want to say Ngannou. I get it. But like, I watched that fight when I was prepping for my tape on this fight. He won. Like, again, just because Ngannou did better than you thought he was going to do doesn't mean he won the fight. And he did. He obviously, I thought he was just going to get annihilated like he did with AJ. But just because he did better than I thought doesn't mean he won the fight, and Ngannou didn't win the fight. Although it was fun to see what he did in what was an otherwise snoozer of a fight. Sorry, that was all good, man. All good. I got a 4-pick parlay today. It's got 2 legs left. Raymond Ford June 1st and Bruce Carrington June 8th on the money on his parlay. Well, Bruce Carrington, I like this. I like that you spread the parlay over 4 weeks. Glendale, what was the parlay? What did you have? Did you have Apataya and Fury, or what did you have that you hit on? Did you have Kachachi by stoppage? Because that would be amazing if you did. Raymond Ford is fighting. Who the hell is Raymond Ford fighting? Remind me who Raymond Ford is fighting. Nick Ball. Ooh. Good luck on that one. I don't even know who wins that fight. I don't know. That's a tough one. Who wins, Wilder or Zhang? Guys are killing me. I want to take Zhang to win the fight, Gator. But he's so slow, and he's just in front of you. So I feel like Wilder's going to land something big. So, like, I'm torn here, right? Like, Zhang is slow, and he's in front of you. And if you're slow and in front of Wilder, you're going to get nailed. So I'll do some tape on this. I think I've just changed my opinion on the spot. Now I'm leaning towards Wilder. Stylistically, I think it favors Wilder. But ask me again as we get closer to the fight, Gator, and I'll give you a better prediction. Before I went back and looked at all the tape, my initial instinct, I don't know. I guess if gun to my head, I gotta pick right now, I guess I would take Wilder. Now I have Lomachenko and Apataya. Okay. All right. Yeah. So this is stretched out over a couple weeks. That's good. It's good. Nick Ball. What I haven't looked at the odds on Nick Ball and Raymond. That's a tough one. Are you that confident that Ford's gonna win? Because, like, the only thing about Ford is he's really fast. Like, I don't really like a whole lot about Raymond Ford. Interesting story about Raymond Ford. Raymond Ford wanted to fist fight me outside of the press conference for Bam Rodriguez and Christian Gonzalez in San Antonio. I did an interview with Eddie Vasquez, and we had talked about Eddie Vasquez, who beat the hell out of Raymond Ford, and Ford got a horrible, bogus decision. And I guess he heard the interview. And we're at the press conference for the Bam Rodriguez fight in San Antonio against Christian Gonzalez. And he had called me out on Instagram, said I was all over his nuts or something like that after I did an interview with Eddie Vasquez. And I'm walking past him, and he says, "What the fuck you looking at?" And, like, I'm looking at a future world champ, man. Stay focused. Keep your eye on the ball. You're a hell of a fighter. And I'm like, all right. Like, I mean, then we're walking into the press conference. As we're walking into the press conference, he goes, "You got a problem with me? Because we can settle this right now." I'm like, dude, go do your press conference. All right. Like, I'm a 40-year-old man. I haven't fought in years. Like, really? Like, this is what you want to do? But Raymond Ford wanted to fist fight me at the press conference where he fought Magdaleno on the undercard of Bam Rodriguez and Christian Gonzalez. So I thought that was interesting. Raymond Ford fought Nick Ball. Yeah. I get he's short, but he's a wrecking ball, bro. Like, I don't like Raymond Ford against pressure fighters. He's a better fighter. He's classier. I get it all. I get it. Like, I just don't like Raymond Ford. I'm not saying he's not going to win. Like, this is a tough one. I think Raymond Ford is a little overrated because of his sensational speed. Like, he's fast. He's fast as hell. That's really all I got for him. Navarrete winning tonight. 100%, Glenn. Navarrete's winning tonight. Yeah, after the hit, he was talking about the hit on the break. He was never the same. That's true. Would it have mattered? Who knows? I mean, I'd like to say yes because Anthony Kachachi, I feel bad. It was part of my lock, and I didn't hit that. What are we laughing at? We're laughing at Nick Ball. All right, you guys think Nick Ball sucks? Okay. Like I get it, he's 5'2", right? He's 5'2". I wouldn't want to fight him. I'm not saying Raymond Ford could very easily beat him, right? Like the speed difference is going to be night and day. So I'm not saying Raymond Ford. I'm saying that fight. What are the odds that you're getting on Nick Ball? Is it close to even? I'd imagine the odds are close to even. After the Cardina hit, he never recovered. That was it. No, that's true. That's true. And earlier than that, the first 2 rounds, I thought Cordina looked vintage Cordina. I thought he won the first 2 rounds. I thought he was doing fine. That he got hit on the break, and the rest of the fight changed. Now Cordina came back and he looked okay in the 4th. Like I thought he won the 4th. That was it. Like you can see, he never really got his legs back. And I was messaging with Muscles Brown, and I was like, uh-oh. Like I think it was like after the 6th, I was like, uh-oh. His legs don't look good. He's not getting his legs back. If they had a rematch 4 months from now, I would still obviously take Cordina. I also wanted to address, is Cordina fighting in the wrong weight class? Because years ago, he came up at 135 and then shrunk down to 130. Now, Cordina doesn't strike me as a guy who is huge for the weight class, but sometimes unless you're standing in front of the person, like Danny Garcia was an example of this. Like Danny Garcia never looked like a big welterweight to me. When you actually stand next to him, he's a big dude. Like when I said he's fighting Keith Thurman, who's a big welterweight, Danny Garcia is the bigger guy in the ring. So maybe Cordina is a lot bigger in person than he looks on TV. Regis Prograis is the opposite. Regis looks big on TV. You meet him in person, he's a little guy. So maybe, but Cordina doesn't look like a big 130, but he came down from 35. Should Cordina go back to 35? It's a tough division. No, I got you. I got it. No, I got you, Muscles Brown. All right, we're going to wrap up, I think, unless you guys have anything else you want me to talk about. We got the ESPN card. Check out the ESPN card. We got Navarrete and Baranchek. We got Brian Norman Jr. It's a good heavyweight fight. Can't wait to see what is next for both guys. I'd like to see Usyk just retire, call it a career, but we will see how that goes. Really intriguing fight, guys. Let me know what you guys think. Leave your thoughts, comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Join the Patreon if you have not already. Just $5 a month gets you the lock of the week. It gets you a ton of other perks as well. Let me know what you guys think. Leave your thoughts, comments below. It is May 18th, 2024 from Texas to the world. Thank you, and God bless.